This morning, we have the opportunity to continue through our series of sermons and monologues from folks who were there 2,000 years ago. Today in particular, 2 weeks ago we heard from Mary as she shared the dilemma of saying yes to God. And we looked at that, how that sometimes can be a bit of a dilemma when you say yes to God. Today, we are revisited from Joseph. You may recall Joseph visited us last year. Well, Joseph is back, and he is going to share with us a message concerning the dilemma of having doubts. And so, with no further ado, we introduce Joseph.
And Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the town of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed, who was with child.
Mary, I'm going to step out and catch a breath of fresh air. I'll be right out back if you need me, darling. Mary, I ask you not to let that little lamb lick the baby's toes like that. I counted that youngin's toes 5 times already. You know how I worry? I know. Mary, you need me, you call me. Call me, Mary. Lord, I ain't never seen critters acting the way them critters is acting toward that youngin in there. It's like them critters know who that little youngin is, don't they? Lord, that's not what I come out here talking about. Pardon my memory, Lord. Lord, this is not the way I thought this was going to be. Let me go over here, Lord. I don't want Mary to hear all this. Lord, I'm overwhelmed there. This little youngin's here, and I'm plumb not ready. Lord, I know y'all saw Mary and my life form together like this. And I know my kinfolks in line with King David. Everybody knows my kinfolks in line with King David. But seriously, Lord, this? What business do I have raising a king? Lord, y'all know I'm a humble man. You know I'm not irresponsible. But for some reason, my big done landed my little family in a stinking barn. Lord, you know I always plan things out. Y'all know I work hard. I save my money. I always do what's right here. I always try to do what's right here. Other people, they plan to come to the census. Other people got here early. What did I do? I showed up late with my pregnant wife hours before getting ready to give birth. After a 90-mile journey in a beat-up, dirty old Ford pickup truck, and I can't even get a room for my little family. Lord, this ain't the way I pondered bringing a young into the world, especially young. Lord, y'all know I never talk much about dreams. I'm a carpenter, not a poet. Plus my pappy. Pappy used to say, what good is dreams? They just disappoint, and that was Pappy. Then there's Mary. Bless her heart, Lord. Bless her heart. Mary, she tried to tell me, she tried to say, Joe, God has other plans for us. He has other plans for us, baby. I didn't want to hear her. I didn't want to believe her. I just wanted to get out of that there situation any which way I could. And then you came along in a dream. Of course. Well, guess I really can't blame you. Probably the only way you were going to get my big, dumb, stubborn butt to listen to you long enough is when I was stone cold asleep in a dream. Oh, pardon me, Lord. This has to be Mary. I'm sorry. Yes, Mary, darling. Shepherds. Well, no, Mary, honey, I don't know nothing about no shepherds, pray tell. No, Mary, none of my kids been shepherds for quite some time now. No. Really? Really now? Well, Mary, I reckon that's just right neighborly of them fellas. Bless their heart. Mary's just right nice of them fellas wanting to come pay a call on our little baby. Tell you what, you invite them nice fellas in, you tell them sit a spell, take their shoes off, and I'll be right back. You hear? All right. Love you too. Shepherds, Lord? Really? I mean, I guess I'll find out what that's all about when I get back over there. But what's next? Lord, I know I'm not the first man to have his life totally rearranged by you. And I certainly won't be the last. But come on, Lord. This one here, this situation here you throw on me, this one here's really sitting thorns. I mean, this one here, it's a real ball wiggle here. Lord, I know what I've been through. And I've seen everything poor Mary's been through. And we've both seen all the great situations around the birth of this young infant. It just leads us both to believe in our heart and soul that this little baby boy in here is fixing to change the whole world. Thing is, Lord, I'm just not sure I'm a world-changing kind of happy. There's other men out there, they're better, they're stronger, they're smarter than me. I know I am, Lord. And sometimes, I think you got the wrong man for this job. Guess what I'm trying to say is, I just don't know if I feel like I'm enough. It's just not enough. And Lord, you know all. You see all. So I reckon if you just see a flicker, just a flicker, the good inside this old sawdust covered heart of mine, Lord, I reckon I best be fixing to take a detour for you. A really big whopper of a detour, Lord. But I tell you what, I promise you this, Lord. Even if I don't feel like I'm enough, I will give you, my little family, and all that I have. Lord, I want to thank you for all your blessings. I want to thank you for talking to me right here tonight. And Lord, I know you and I will be talking again real soon. But right now, Lord, I reckon I best be fixing to get over there and find out what all this shepherd business is about and all, pray tell. So, Lord, I will plainly say thank you. Good night. Mary, who is that boy with the drum?
Nobody does it like Bob. I'm going to ask you to open your Bibles, if you would, to the Gospel of Matthew. When we hear God's word concerning what we just heard from Joseph, this is how it took place. Matthew writes, beginning with verse number 18, this is how the birth of Jesus Christ came about. His mother Mary was pledged to be married to Joseph. But before they came together, she was found to be with child through the Holy Spirit. Because Joseph, her husband, was a righteous man, and he did not want to expose her to public disgrace, he had in mind to divorce her quietly. But after he had considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said to him, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins. All of this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. The virgin will be with child and will give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. When Joseph woke up, he did what the angel of the Lord had commanded him, and he took Mary home as his wife. But he had no union with her until she gave birth to a son, and he gave him the name Jesus. May the Lord add his blessing in this reading and hearing of his holy word. You know, I think about Joseph, and I can't help but wonder what it was like. What went into his thinking? I know Bob gave us a one perspective on that here this morning. But I wonder what went into his thinking in terms of everything that was transpiring. Because, you see, people have different approaches to life. And I don't know for sure about Joseph, but just based on his occupation alone, I get the impression that Joseph was sort of a ready, aim, fire sort of guy. He took aim before he fired. See, sometimes, and my wife will say amen to this, sometimes I can be a ready, fire, aim sort of guy. You know, I aim after I fired, and that doesn't make a lot of sense. My wife is the opposite of that. But I get the impression, because the carpenters are careful, right? Right? I mean, let's be honest, they do what? They measure twice, and they cut once. I suspect that he was very careful in his planning process. Me, on the other hand, I measure once, and then oftentimes I hold the wood up and I see a light on either side of it where it's supposed to go. You see, Joseph was careful. He's the sort of guy who, when he bought a piece of furniture from IKEA, and it said some assembly required, when he was done with the project, there were no extra parts. The sort of person who reads the instructions before putting it together. Now, who does that? Right, man? Anyways, I digress. You know, what I guess I'm trying to get at is you get the impression that Joseph was probably a planner, right? And I think that's what he was sharing with us this morning. He planned things out. So he had planned probably for years his life that would be ahead of him. He planned out what it was going to look like. And so when he tells us this morning, this wasn't at all what I had planned, well, no, I'm sure it wasn't. He had planned. And not only had he planned for a family with children, but that plan was already in motion. He was already betrothed to Mary, which, as we said 2 weeks ago, was the equivalent of almost being married. Legally, it was the equivalent of being married. So he is betrothed there in the midst of this plan. It is not before the plan. It's not while he's hatching the plan. This is in the midst of his plan, when suddenly Mary becomes pregnant. Now, I don't know what the conversation went like between him and Mary, because Scripture doesn't tell us that. We can only surmise that he was a bit heartbroken, maybe a little bit angry, a little bit upset and anxious about the whole situation. But I can't get inside his mind. It sort of reminded me, I was watching a Christmas movie the other night. And I know you guys will think that's unlikely that I would be watching a movie. But I was. I was watching a movie and it made me think this person could really relate to Joseph. Because this person, time after time after time, had these plans and it kept come crashing down on him. Now maybe you're already starting to think, you're playing it out in your head. Who could that be? Who could that be? Well, the movie is It's a Wonderful Life. And the character is played by Jimmy Stewart, is George Bailey. You see, George Bailey, as a young boy, wanted to travel the world. He had big plans, big plans. He was going to then go to college, and they were going to change the world. Sort of have the world by its tail, right? But he had some financial issues, so he had to postpone his plans. But then he was ready to go. He was going to go see the world and go to college, when suddenly and tragically his father passed away from a stroke. And all of a sudden, his plans were set aside again. He went and worked to save the old building loan company. And he was going to do it for 4 years until his brother graduated from college. And then his brother would take over the job, and he would then go off to college, only to find out when his brother came back, he came back with a wife who informed George that his brother was going to work for her father, his father-in-law. Plans went right down the tube. I'm thinking, you know, when that happens, you begin to doubt a little bit, don't you? When your plans constantly are being crashing and burning. He gets married. Has new plans. Has plans to go on a honeymoon. Unfortunately, there's a run on the bank. It's all the money that he was going to go use to go on his honeymoon and see the world. He had to put into the business to save the business. Plans are changed again. But then he has kids and he has a wife and things seem to be going well. And I suppose he probably had a different plan now. He was just going to have a nice, comfortable life with his family when suddenly Uncle Billy, while making a deposit, I hope I'm not giving this away to all of you, takes a misstep. Mr. Potter plays a role in it, of course, but in any event, loses $8,000, and suddenly his plan for a comfortable life with his family and kids is now in jeopardy as he faces embezzlement and possible jail time. And you see, all of this changing of his plans left him doubting. Doubting at some level whether the world wouldn't be better off if he had never been born. See, that's what, when your plans are constantly being changed, that's when you begin to think. Maybe he'd just been better off if I hadn't been around. Attempts to take his life. I'm not going to give away any more. For those of you who've never seen it, which is probably nobody, but that's okay. The point being that when your plans are constantly dashed, you begin to doubt. You begin to doubt yourself. You begin to doubt God even in the midst of that. Joseph was a planner. You can't help but wonder what's going through my mind. He planned out this. He was in the middle of this betrothal period. He is probably off preparing a house. The marriage, the official marriage ceremony was probably just months away. He had been saving up and getting ready for this wonderful event when suddenly finds out that those plans can crash him down. How would he have felt? But Joseph is a righteous man. That's what the Bible tells us. So, being a righteous man, what was he to do? He had to somehow bring this betrothal period to an end. Now, he could have, it was well within his right, he could have exposed Mary as somebody who was pregnant outside of marriage. An unplanned pregnancy in those days was not something that anybody would have looked highly upon. She could have been humiliated, disgraced, and even put to death, conceivably. But he, in his righteousness, saw that the law allowed for them to secretly or privately divorce. All you had to do is have two witnesses, and you could be divorced in this state. Not Pennsylvania, but the state they were in then. And because of his compassion for Mary, he didn't want to expose her to any humiliation. His righteousness and compassion come shining through. He concocts this new plan. I will just divorce her privately. And here's the wonderful thing about Joseph when you think about it. He was a planner, but he took his time, right? How many of us, when we make a plan, bam, or when something happens, it's just a knee-jerk reaction, and we do it immediately. Don't even think about it. Don't even pray about it. Don't even contemplate the consequences. But you see, Joseph, he was a planner. And so he said, I'll sleep on it, right? Not going to do anything just yet. I'm going to sleep on it. Because he wanted to make sure that what he was doing was what God wanted him to do. He had plans. But Joseph was the kind of person that we all ought to be. He had plans, he had dreams, but he held on to them loosely. Right? Sometimes we hold on to our dreams and our plans tightly, when all along God may have something much bigger, much better in store for us. Not Joseph, he was hanging on to him loosely. And God came to him and revealed a bigger purpose, far bigger than anything he could have ever imagined. His role in the life of raising the Son of God. He could have never anticipated that. Could have never thought that was coming. But he was searching for answers. And God confirmed a new dream for him. The dream that he would raise Jesus. And I think that God does that. If you are watching and you are listening, God will either affirm your plans, or he will say those plans are not good. He does that all the time. I think back to a couple years ago. And Denise and I were sort of quietly looking for a cabin or a retreat or somewhere that we could get away from you all from. And because sometimes the pastor just needs to get away, right? It's not about you, it's about me. But we were looking for, and we've been looking for 2 or 3 years. And we actually put money down and signed papers on 3 different places. The first place, and this is where I can relate to church. First place was up on a hill, overlooking these pastures in Cranberry Township. Just beautiful. Only a few miles away from my daughter's house, if that. Matter of fact, we started planning and thinking they could even almost walk here, maybe through the houses and so forth. We're making our plans and put money down. We'd go up there and just look over and say, this is ours. We're making a plan. Then the sewage impact. And so we got our money back, and we went on continuing to look. And then we found another house. We found another house. It was right between New Kensington and Apollo. And I thought this would be great because I could play cards with Russ and Helen all the time. We'd only be probably 10, 15 minutes away. It's on about an acre of wooded lot. We put money down on it, and we began planning. Here's what we're going to do this. Here's the changes we're going to make here. And we were going through the whole process. Unfortunately, they wouldn't even allow us to test the sewage in that house. And so we got our money back, and we began to doubt. We began to doubt, is God even calling us to make a purchase of a new house? We were doubting because we were thinking, maybe this is just our plan. Maybe this isn't God's plan at all. Maybe I don't need to get away from you all that much. I don't know. But then one Saturday night, I'm looking at realtor.com, and I come across this house. It's sitting on 8 acres. It's in Amish country, in the middle of nowhere. I got a little 1-acre pond on it. Beautiful house. And I pointed out to her, and she said, let's go look at that. You see, we're wondering, we're doubting. Is this right or is this not right? Is this of God or is it not? Then we pull in the driveway, and right there in the entranceway is a big stone that has the 10 Commandments on it. And we're thinking, whoa, now that's a sign, right? Got to be a sign. You see, sometimes when you're looking and listening to God, He will answer you through His Word, sometimes through your daily devotions, sometimes from a fellow Christian friend, sometimes from a rock, maybe sometimes from a dream. But the fact is, if you are looking and you are open and you are hanging on loosely to your plans, willing to let them go, God will reveal to you what He wants you to do. He will reveal it to you. That's just what He does. Now Joseph was willing. He was listening. You see, he wanted to know what God's will was. He could have been Scrooge here, right? He could have been Scrooge. How many movies can I weave into this message? What are you thinking? Right? He could have been Scrooge. He could have said, listen, this dream is nothing but a bit of undigested beef. Or maybe a little bit of undone potato. He could have said, you know what? There's more gravy than God in this little dream I just had. But no, he was listening and God spoke to him. He was holding on loosely and he responded. That's what God calls us to do. It's good to plan. It is. It's good to have dreams. But understand God's dreams may be so much better than your dreams. You're hanging on to that job, hoping someday you go all the way to the top of the ladder. But it's taken away from your family life, and you don't have time to do the things you want to do at church. But you know what? It's your plan. Well, maybe God has a better plan for you. A plan that will allow you to support your family and be with them, actually, along the process. Be open. Hang on to your dreams. But hang on to them loosely. That's the message I share with you today as we go through this Advent season. You know, maybe you're hanging on. Maybe your plan is, that person has hurt me and I can never, ever forgive that person. Maybe that's your plan. Well, I'm telling you, I don't believe that's God's plan. Do not hold on to that. Seek out Him. He's got bigger plans for you. He's got reconciliation on His mind. He's got healing in His heart that He wants to be in your heart. Be open to that. I want you to prayerfully think as we approach this Christmas season, how am I like Joseph? Am I hanging on to my dreams too firmly? Not allowing God to enter into the picture? Or am I loosening the grip? Giving God every opportunity to allow His dreams to become my dreams. Because that's what God desires more than anything else. That His dreams for you become your dreams. It happened for Joseph. It can happen for you if you just keep your eyes open and your hands in the grip. Let's pray. Father, as we reflect upon this story, we are just so grateful for the example of Joseph, who trusted you. God, he trusted you enough to let go and to let God, to let you. Sometimes we're just hanging on too tightly, Lord. And I pray that you would reveal to me and to everybody in this sanctuary today those things that we need to loosen our grip on a little bit. Our plans, our dreams, so that your dreams, which are far better than ours, can come shining through in our lives, Lord. I just pray that you would allow us to loosen our grip and you would reveal those dreams. Give us eyes to see and ears to hear, that we would know your dreams for us, and that your dreams would become our dreams. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.